Hello plant people, Nora the Leca Queen here. Today we're going to talk about anthuriums. I'm going to show you how I convert my anthuriums from soil to leca and how I get that process to work really well for my plants. I've got my little plant here. It's my Anthurium Crystallinum X. It's just a little tiny baby. When I got this plant, she was living in soil. This leaf actually wasn't in existence. She was living in soil, and I took the plant out of the soil and I put her into a growth technology Clonix clone and root zone solution, which is what I call my special sauce. And I used the long method of transfer from soil to leca on this plant. So I put this plant up in the source on the 30th of April. I've got the pictures there. So on the 30th of April, I put the plant up in that solution and I regularly changed the solution. And literally 2 weeks later, it didn't take long, I moved the plant from that nutrient solution into leca, and the plant has not looked back. So when I moved the plant from the nutrient solution to leca, she actually had a teeny weeny little red leaf that was coming through, and that is what that little red leaf is now. This is how this plant looks now, and these are all the old leaves. I think this has been a rather successful transfer from soil to leca, and when you look at the roots of this plant, they are doing really well, and this plant is really loving its leca life. So it is possible to transfer an anthurium from soil to leca. Using the long method is a way I definitely recommend that you do it. And if you haven't seen any of my videos where I talk about the long method and why it's useful to use, just click on the link above and that'll take you straight to it. But I will actually show you how I did that step by step. So I've got two anthuriums here. So I got these ones, I think last week I got them. This one is, hang on, it's an Anthurium Forgetti and Crystallinum. That looks absolutely smashing. Look at that leaf. Look at those veins. I just, I didn't get anthuriums before, but I definitely do now. This plant has just arrived. It's still in its packaging and it's still living in soil. The next plant that I've got is an Anthurium dark. So this is a Crystallinum X as well, but it's a dark version. So this is the normal version and this is the dark version. So they're both Crystallinum X's. So obviously this one is a little bit bigger, but oh my gosh, look at how fabulous those leaves are. I mean, I'm just really loving anthuriums. This plant is living in soil, so I'm going to transfer that from soil into leca. So in order for us to do that, of course, we will be using the long method of leca transfer. So of course, in order to get the plant out of that pot, I've got my gloves on to keep myself safe. And I'm just squeezing that pot and getting the plant out. That is the plant out of the pot, and I tease off as much of that dirt as I can and being very gentle with those roots. That is as much as I could get off, and I'll put that aside and I'll get my next plant. Same thing, gently squeezing, taking that out of the pot. Get as much of the organic material off as I can, which is pretty easy with these plants actually. There's not too much left by the time I'm done. That's what that looks like. And this one's got a little bamboo stick there, so I'm just going to take that off because I don't need that. That is my two plants there. I will take them outside and go and wash them off. I'm back from outside and I've had the opportunity to wash off my plants. That's what the roots now look like. They're absolutely beautiful, lovely and clean. I've taken the opportunity to wash the leaves of the plants as well. So just in case there were any, pests hanging about, all that is clean. And that is my other plant. Lovely looking roots. Leaves all washed off as well. So I'm now going to put my plants in my bottles, my propagation bottles, and I will top that up with my special sauce. These are my propagation bottles, and all I do is simply put my plant in there. Make sure all the roots are in there, and that's what that looks like. So that plant is sitting in there, and I'll get the other bottle and put the other plant in there as well. So that's, oops, doesn't want to sit in my bottle. Right, there you go. There you go. That is sitting in there. So I am going to put in that. This is what I call my special sauce. And my special sauce is comprised of Growth Technology Clone-X Clone Solution. This is a substance that helps the plant with rooting, so it will feed the cutting as it sits in that solution. And I add an organic product also from Growth Technology. This is Root Zone. This actually takes care of the roots and it helps the roots develop better. So the two of them make up my special sauce, and I will put that special sauce in my bottles. Got my jug here. I've got my two plants living in those now. I will put those plants on a nice warm area, have them sit on my heating mat, and after 2 weeks, we will move them from that solution into Leca. See you then. Hello plant people. It's been 3 weeks since I've had my anthuriums living in my special sauce, going through the long method of soil to Leca transition. Look at this gorgeous baby. She is still looking good, and she's given me a lovely, lovely, teeny tiny new leaf over there. And that's what the roots are looking like. So all in all, I'm really happy with how this is going. And this is the second one here. Look at that leaf. It's just glorious. I'm trying to see if I can get that sheen coming through there. And that's also doing well. And these are the roots. I think the long method has worked really well. I think those roots have really taken nicely to the nutrient solution. I'm going to pull them out so we can have a closer look. So that is my dark form Crystallinum X, and this is what those roots now look like. So when I tug at these, I've had like that there come off, which is fine. I expect that to happen. But the majority of those roots are still doing well. And trying to see if I can show this to you. This little root there, that's actually a new root. And there's quite a number of these throughout this root system. So this plant has really taken to that nutrient solution, and you know, those roots are ready to actually go into Leca. This plant here, that's been living in that solution as well, but I want to show you. Take a look at this root here. This root over there is actually new. This one here is a new root that actually wasn't there before I put that in. And there's actually a few right at the tips there. You can see this one and this one there. There's that one there. Those are all new roots that have developed since being in this nutrient solution. And when I tug at these roots, you know, I virtually have nothing actually pulling out. So this plant is really, really ready to go into Leca. So I've got my Leca that's been pre-soaking in my Clone-X Clone solution for not less than 24 hours. I've got my pots, and I'll show you how I pot these babies up. I'm going to start with this little Forgetti Crystallinum hybrid over here. So this is still a tiny plant, so I'll put it in my 100 millimeter 10 centimeter pot, and this is a ventilated grower's pot that I make. And if you haven't seen how I make these, just click on the link above and that'll take you straight to it. I've got my leca here that's been soaking for not less than 24 hours in Clonex clone solution, ready to just caress those roots and get more roots going and feed the cutting. So I'm going to top up this pot just about a third of the way with leca. So that about does it. And I'll grab my plant and I'll put that right in the middle and try and spread out the roots as much as I can. So that's about how I'll get that in there, and then I'll top this up with leca. So just giving that pot a light squeeze just to make sure that the leca settles. And when you do that, you'll find you've actually got more space to put more of that leca in. So that's my plant now living in leca, and as you can see, the roots are all the way up there. So I'll pot up my next one. This is my dark Anthurium Crystallinum X, and this plant is a lot bigger. So I'm going to put that one in my 14 centimeter pot. And this is just a clear grower's pot that I have made ventilation holes in. It's just so much better for my plant. So I'm going to top up this pot about a third of the way with leca before I put the plant in. So that's a third of the way. Grab my plant, putting that in the middle and trying to get as many of the roots spread out as I can, and I start to top that up with leca. And then I'll just squeezing that pot, making sure that the leca settles, and you can fill that up with more leca if you need to. Okay, so I've got a bit more room. And right there is my plant sitting in its 14 centimeter pot. That is my Anthurium living in a 14 centimeter pot, and this one is living in a 10 centimeter pot. And if you're finding value from this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps my channel. Of course, I've got the little name labels on there because I could never remember what they're all called. I will show you my very first. This is my very first Anthurium, and this is a Crystallinum X. And I've had this one living in a 10 centimeter pot because it was quite tiny when I got it. And I just want to show you what those roots are doing. You can see those roots that have now become proper leca roots, and they're growing down. And that looks really, really nice. They look really, really fuzzy, and that plant is doing well. So this biggest leaf here is a leaf that has grown since the plant has been in my care. So I'm really happy, and I think it's growing really well. There's a root that's right there. There's this big white fluffy root that's almost coming right from the top of the pot. I wanted to show you that one. I'm really, really happy with this plant. It's living in its reservoir there, and it's being fed by growth technology, foliage focus, and root zone. And I'm really happy with how it's going. So anyway, that's what these two babies are going to start doing. So before I wrap up this video, I want to show you the reservoirs that these two plants are going to be living in and how I'm going to top that up with nutrient solution for them. So for the next 2 or 3 weeks, I am going to have this solution, which is my special sauce, which is a combination of Clonex clone solution and root zone. This is the same solution I used when the plants were going through the long method. So they sat in this solution, and those nice water roots started to develop in this. I'm going to use this in the reservoir just to provide that consistency for the first few weeks, and then later on I will switch that to foliage focus. So for the 10 centimeter pot, I'm going to use this as my reservoir. So that fits very nicely. The plant fits very nicely into that. So I normally wouldn't have a clear pot. I'm just using this one as a demonstration to show you the level at which I'll put the nutrient solution. And the reason I wouldn't use this is that once you've got light going through to your nutrient solution and to your substrate, algae starts to grow, and I don't want any algae growing in my reservoir on my leca. So I normally use a covered reservoir, which is something like this. So it's dark, and I make these by myself. All I do is just cover this with some simple black tape. Any black tape you can find will work. And just if you want more information about algae in semi-hydroponics, just click on the link above, and I've got a video that goes into greater detail about algae and what you can do to prevent it in semi-hydroponics. So back to my reservoirs. So for my 14 centimeter pot plant, which is this one, I'm going to put it in this reservoir. And this is just a plant pot liner. And that sits very nicely in there. So I'll show you how I put the nutrient solution now. I'll bring you down. So it helps to have the plant inside the reservoir before you start to pour the nutrient solution in. So I've got my nutrient solution here, and I'm now pouring it in. And remember, we don't want the nutrient solution to be touching the roots. So as you can see, that nutrient solution is just, I'm not sure if you can see actually, it's a bit difficult. So you can see that the nutrient solution is there. My roots start all the way up there, so I can still pour more into there. And you can see the level of that rising as I'm pouring. So you can see that that nutrient solution is about there. My roots start there. So this is a good point to actually stop. And when I lift it up, you can see that it's just about there at the second level. And of course, when I put it down, that level rises. That's just simple physics, displacement, the law of displacement. But there, that's basically how I do that one. I'll bring my other one there, and I'll do the same thing. So I'll pour my nutrient solution. And you can see how that starts to look. Pour a little bit more. So as you can see, that is where my nutrient solution stops. And when I pick it up, it's just about there. So we're not putting too much, just a little bit, so that the nutrient solution is actually not hitting the roots. Those are my two adorable Anthuriums finally making their way into Leca 3 weeks after I moved them from soil to a nutrient solution, having gone through the long method of Leca transition. And what plants do I use the long method for? It's really plants that I'm a bit iffy. I'm not sure if they will survive if I just put them directly into Leca, but primarily plants that are a little bit more precious to me, like these two beautiful Anthuriums, because in the end, I do want them to follow the route of their lovely friend that's been living in Leca for some time and is doing oh so well. So what will I do with these two plants? So because as you know, Anthuriums do like an atmosphere that's just so great light, great humidity, and because I can't provide all those things consistently in my home, I will have to put them in my grow tent. In my grow tent, they have access to light, and they have access to great humidity. So they will be living there until I can find a better solution for them. What I would love to do is get one of those IKEA Millsbore cabinets. I would so love to do that. And that is a project that I'm going to tackle some point in the near future. But yes, this is how I transfer my Anthuriums. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you in my next video. Thanks. Bye.